fraud. The House Oversight Committee holding its first hearing today, probing this massive scandal. Congressional Democrats doing what they do best, blame Trump.
Donald Trump is removing child care funding for the entire state. That frozen funding provides child care for over 18,000 kids. These kids didn't commit fraud. So I want to know why they should be punished.
I think about my own mom, a single mom, just barely struggling to get by, working multiple jobs. These programs are a lifeline.
Every dollar that is stolen from public programs is a dollar that is taken from a child who needs care, a senior who needs food, or a family that is already struggling to make ends meet.
The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services now auditing the state's Medicaid program, the Medicaid receipts there, and deferring payment or paying claims on 14 at least programs that are rife with fraud, waste, and abuse. Misuse. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator, the one and only Dr. Mehmet Oz, joins us now. Dr. Oz, I saw your announcement late last night, and I was talking out loud. I was saying hallelujah. But how deep is the rot in Minnesota and other places like California and Illinois, where I know that you've already withheld $1.3 billion from just those three states?
Well, sticking to the narrative that is cold in Minnesota, this is the tip of the iceberg. So a lot of this started actually a year and a half ago, and there was an active effort, it appears, by the Walz administration not to pursue evidence of fraud. And that was actually evident to our administration, the general narrative in Minnesota, that we got this handled, we got this taken care of. It turns out they had not been able to keep their arms around this crisis. It was growing by the week, and they finally admitted that to us. We sent a letter to Governor Walz, but also to the administration, saying, you need to get us a corrective action plan by the end of the year, or we're going to take action that is painful for you to deal with. The document we got back New Year's Eve after hours was nothing resembling what we had anticipated. All kinds of excuses like our state law doesn't allow us to check the providers the way you want us to. We're not going to be able to comply with this or that element of any reasonable audit you perform. And so we are taking the largest action of its kind ever in Medicaid history by asking the state to give us all the receipts, and we're going to defer, it could be hundreds of millions of dollars, a quarter of money that's not going to go to the state. Now, I just heard all that belly aching from congressmen and congresswomen from Minnesota. The reality is they have a rainy day fund that's about $4 billion. So they have money. These actions are not designed in any way to hurt the people of Minnesota. What they are going to do is hold accountable the leaders of Minnesota who abdicated their responsibility. And what they're asking everyone to do, just so we're clear, is they want 49 states, the people in those states, to belly up money, to put forward money into the federal tax system to then pay for the fraud in Minnesota. That's not going to happen under our watch, and President Trump is adamant about this. You're not going to see that from any of our agencies. We're going to hold people accountable. You touched on California earlier. I'll be clear about this. We've already deferred $1.3 billion from California, Minnesota, and a few other states for illegal immigrants receiving funds from state Medicaid, claiming it's not federal, but we know it's federal. How do I know? They're already paying us back. They're already admitting they're guilty.
You know what gets me about this? I'm a Minnesota guy. It pains me to see what's happening there. What gets me is when the governors of these states, confronted by fraud, don't want to take responsibility and can't even explain the process by which all of this money should have been verified in the first place. Can you tell me, as you go through this process, when you get to the end of it, can we at least have some reasonable assurance that any money going out the door in the future is going to, you got to verify it happened. There's actually going to be a receipt instead of just sign people up and send checks to the nonprofits who say they're delivering service.
Brian, you're asking the most important question of all. We will fix this problem, but let me make sure everyone understands. For the Democratic leader, certainly of Minnesota, this is not a flaw. This was a feature that they could hide the ball from the federal government. They don't have to collect receipts that are plausible. They can get fake receipts, manufactured receipts, and pretend they're real because they get the money either way. It's not coming out of their pockets, which is why we're deferring income. But here's what really is the problem. If you sign people up for Medicaid, even for suspect programs, you get to also sign them up to vote. So you're actually recruiting voters. This is political patronage on the back of the federal taxpayer. We literally have citizens in Texas and Mississippi and Florida paying for folks to get registered as voters, usually for Democrats in Minnesota, because they know they'll get these benefits. We're not going to allow that to happen anymore.
When California expanded their own Medi-Cal, their version of Medicaid, to include all illegal migrants,
Right.
I said out loud, it's illegal to put illegal aliens on Medicaid at the federal level. And people acted like, oh, well, it's just state money. And I went, no, it's fungible. Money is fungible. And now they got caught because President Trump got elected, and you're running Medicaid and Medicare. So, thank you. Hallelujah, Dr. Oz. We'll see you soon. Please come back anytime.